Time didn't rush as it does today. Minutes and hours weren't measured by clocks, but by shadows and the sun. The fall of a single leaf, the ripple of a droplet on stone, each was just as important. Nothing was done in haste, because nowhere was worth rushing to. When the wind passed through stone walls, it didn't just carry air. It brought whispers of lived lives, of secrets, of prayers, ... Voices etched into the stones, mingled with the earth. The only sound to break the silence was the distant ringing of a bell. Those bells announced the morning and set the rhythm of the day. There were no clocks in those times. Yet everyone knew the time, because life woke up with nature. There were no machines yet. No noise. Even human voices matched the rhythm of the natural world. Conversations were brief, but glances lingered. Even footsteps were slow and soft. These were times when the world was not yet tired. Life began with water, and it was water that purified it. Days didn't start with soap, but with the river, the stones, and the herbs. Water wasn't merely for washing, it was a form of cleansing. Everything it touched was lightened, not only on the outside, but deep within. In one of the forgotten villages of the Middle Ages, in a place not marked on any map, whose name no one remembers, a morning is about to begin as small stone. Houses prepare to greet the day, and smoke has yet to rise from the chimneys. But in this story, there is no king. No war, no heroism. No swords will be drawn, no lands conquered. This story is different. This is the morning of a silent woman. A morning where a basket of soapwort meets a river flowing between stones. Where days woven into fabric are patiently unraveled. Where hands meet water, stone, and nature. Here, doing laundry isn't a chore. It's a ritual, a kind of prayer. To bend down, to kneel and touch the water. It's like holding the past and the present in the same hand. This morning is part of a ceremony that has been repeated for centuries, but each time it's lived as if for the first time. And now, if you feel ready, let us return to that morning together. You don't need to close your eyes, but try to lower the volume of your thoughts, because this story isn't told. It's listened to. It unfolds quietly in the silence. The houses are still dark inside. The sun has not yet risen. The sky is about to turn blue, leaving gray behind, but it is still somewhere between night and morning. Outside, the air is hazy. The ground is damp, the wind is light but biting. The cold creeps along the walls. But inside the house there is another kind of warmth. This warmth is not the heat emitted by a stove or a fire. It is the warmth of habits, of repetitive movements, of morning routines that have become ingrained. Over time, an invisible internal rhythm that ensures a house wakes up at the same time every morning. In the center of the small kitchen, with its stone walls, a candle is burning. Its flame is faint but steady. The candle's light spreads across the stone floor and walls like a yellow ring. Shadows dance along the ceiling, moving as if they were figures left over from past mornings. The candle's flame sometimes bends, sometimes seems to almost go out, but then it straightens again. Because this candle knows how to burn every morning. Because this house waits for this light every morning. There's a woman in the room. She has no name. Her face is unfamiliar, but her presence seems to be carved into these stones. She wears a thin, cream-colored linen veil on her head. Her face is weathered by the wind, but her features are delicate. Her hands have fingers accustomed to winter, cracked, worn, but still careful. None of her movements are sudden. Nothing is done in haste, because this morning is like the mornings before, and it will probably be like tomorrow morning too. But each time it carries a different meaning. The woman takes the small basket from the stove. The basket is filled with cloth bags, yellowed, worn by time, each representing a different morning. The bags are tied at the top. Inside them are soap herbs. Some contain lemon balm, a sharp cleansing scent, invigorating. Some contain lavender, like the sister of sleep, slightly dizzying. And some contain only ash, a form of purification left over from wood with no scent at all. The woman opens one of the bags. The scent slowly spreads throughout the kitchen. Not immediately. Over time, gently, just like everything else in this house. From a room in the back, deep and rhythmic breathing can be heard. The children are still asleep. Their blankets are not thick filled with wool or straw, but they are warm. Because they are wrapped up. Beside them, small amulets made of stone or simple toys sewn from cloth. They are in their dreams. The woman opens the door slightly. She pauses for a moment. She looks at the children again. Then she closes the door quietly. Her feet are not bare, but every step she takes on the wooden floor makes a small creaking sound. But even this sound is natural in this house. It is a sound that is heard every morning. The house knows this sound. And so does the woman. The basket is not ready yet. The clothes to be washed that morning are placed next to the bags. Each one is faded. Some are stained. Some are slightly unstitched, but each one is still valuable. Because nothing is easily discarded here. The lifespan of everything depends on the patience of the one who uses it. The woman bends down to a corner. There, the soap cloth from the previous morning is still damp. She picks it up. She smells it. She sighs. She closes her eyes. That's soap. Scent takes her to another morning for a moment. Perhaps to her mother's hands. Perhaps to a morning from her childhood. Time layers, the same soap cloth, the same house. Only the hands have changed. A bird's song is heard from outside. The first sound, then another. As if nature is also preparing for the morning. As if something is about to begin by the riverbank. The woman places the soap leaves into the bags one by one. She ties a small knot at the top of each one. But first, she pauses for a moment. She glances at each bag. As if each one were a small prayer. As if not only soapwort, but also the weariness of the past and the hope of the future were hidden inside that cloth. The basket is ready. A wooden spoon is attached to its edge. A piece of dry bread beside it. A small linen handkerchief. All simple, all silent. Then she takes a little water from the small jar in the corner. She washes her hands. The water does not spill onto the stone floor. It is quietly placed on a cloth. Because even sound is not permitted here. The woman covers the basket with an old cloth. Not to keep them warm, because they are not alive, but so that dust does not settle on them and the personal purity of the morning is not disturbed. She heads toward the door. She puts her cloak over her shoulders. It is dark gray, thick, slightly softened on the inside. The seams are old but sturdy. A string hangs from the sleeve. Perhaps forgotten. Perhaps intentional. The door opens slowly. The cold hits. Her face, her breath condenses. Her shoes sink into the mud. The earth is about to wake up. The sky is pale, silent just as he is about to move forward. Another door opens. A few houses away. Another woman. Another basket. But the same morning, the same rhythm. The same silence. Neither of them speaks. They just lock eyes for a moment. Then their heads bow slightly. The journey begins, toward the river. Toward silence, and toward purification. But first, the preparations are complete. The most fragile moment of the morning, That brief and unsettling silence when the night has just ended and the day has not yet begun. The earth does not yet belong to the night. But the sun has not yet shown its face. The horizon is a blurry blend of gray and blue. The sky is about to wake up from its slumber, but its eyes are not yet fully open. Dewdrops have gathered on the branches of the trees. Each one is like a distilled trace of the time between night and morning. And at this moment, a movement begins. The door creaks open slowly and deliberately. It is like a greeting from the wooden surface, a habit it has developed over the years. The woman who appears behind the door is like a priestess taking the first step in a ceremony. When her feet touch the ground, the wet grass touches her heels. Her shoes are old but sturdy. The leather has softened over time, the stitches have. Loosened in places, but they still serve their purpose. The woman knows this feeling, the morning dew, the wetness of the earth. This contact tells her that the journey has begun. The basket on her shoulder sways slightly. The weight of the basket is balanced by the soap bags and a few pieces of linen cloth. A small wooden spoon attached to one end of the basket clatters softly with each step. The woman tightens the string slightly to silence it. Silence is more precious than gold at this hour. When she steps out of the house, the village is still asleep. Smoke-free chimneys, silent stables, and motionless streets. But everything seems to be waiting for an awakening. The path worn by years guides the morning ritual. This path is not paved with stones. There are no marked lines or signs. But each step feels as certain as if it had been taken thousands of times before. Because this walk is a walk of memory, the doors of other houses are also opening slowly. Each one is experiencing the same morning within itself. Women are coming out one by one. Some have covered their children before leaving. Some may have whispered silent prayers. Some have tied a thick knot in their cloaks. Others have tied their headscarves a little tighter against the wind. All are moving in the same direction, with the same stillness. The first steps mark a moment of transition. From night to day, from sleep to wakefulness, from home to nature. A faint light filters through the leaves. The sky turns a slightly lighter shade of blue. The wind is almost non-existent. Only the fabric hanging from the baskets trembles slightly. Even this trembling is like music. A morning hymn. The edge of the forest begins. The trees are tall and silent. Some bear moss on their bark. Others have bird nests in their thin branches. Sparrows are preparing for the new day. They fluff up their feathers and scratch their beaks with short twigs. One of them suddenly takes flight. There is almost no sound of wings. But the emptiness left behind by that flight can be heard. That absence is like a trace passing through the silence. The women's steps are steady. No one is in a hurry. This walk is not a walk of work, but a walk of intention. Each step seems to have been taken for the same purpose for centuries. The grasses rising on either side of the path are covered with morning dew. Each blade of grass gently touches the women's skirts. There is no complaint of wetness or discomfort. In that touch, this contact is also part of the morning. A sound comes from afar. It is faint, perhaps a bell, perhaps a bird singing in the morning. But that sound gives meaning to the walk. It is as if time becomes more distinct with that sound. One of the women bends down and picks up a branch from the path. The branch is dry but sturdy. Perhaps she will hang her basket on it. Perhaps she will wedge it between the stones. The meaning of this action lies only in the heart of the one who performs it. As the path continues, the village disappears from view. The houses, roofs, and chimneys are no longer visible. Only nature and the ritual itself remain. The trees become sparser. The landscape widens. The mountains are covered in morning mist. The mist settles in the valleys, like a dream that has not yet awakened. The sound of the river begins to be heard, first a whisper, then a soft murmur, and finally the song of water flowing over pebbles. The women recognize this sound. This is the moment when the morning is complete. Their steps slow down a little, but not because of fatigue. This slowness is the slowness of respect. The place they are approaching is sacred. They come not only to wash, but to purify themselves. A bend is rounded, and the river appears. The water reflects the morning light, but this reflection is not perfect. Stones, leaves, and wind shatter the water's mirror. Yet it is clear, a surface that reveals its depths. Upon reaching the riverbank, the first thing done is to stop, to simply look for a moment. For in this stillness lies the completion of the morning. The baskets are slowly placed on the ground. The women untie the soap bags from their shoulders. Some bend over the water, their palms touch the water. The coolness penetrates to the bones, but this chill is pleasant. It is an awakening. The moment when the body fully joins the day. Some are sitting. The grass is still wet, but that wetness does not prevent them from sitting. It's almost like an acceptance. This river, this stone, this morning, these women, all are part of the same cycle. As if these women had spoken to this river years ago. And now this silence is the continuation of that conversation. The washing hasn't begun yet. Because first, one must listen to the water, to the morning, to each other, and perhaps to oneself. When the women reach the riverbank, they stop first. They look around silently for a few seconds. The flow of the water, the morning light shining on the stones, and the smell of damp grass. All of this is not just a natural landscape. It is also a place of remembrance. They take careful steps. Some stones are slippery. Some are covered in moss, but each of them knows where to step. This journey is not being made for the first time. The same stones have been stepped on for years. The same places have been bent over. The same baskets have been left at the same bend. The women kneel by the water. Their bodies are accustomed to the coolness of the water. The stones may be covered in moss, but this does not bother them. On the contrary, it is familiar ground. The stone they kneel on is often the same stone. That stone has become like a personal space dot. The baskets are placed on the ground. Bags of soapwort, fabrics, handkerchiefs, old shirts, and children's socks are taken out. Each piece of fabric holds a story. The sweat of a day, the playtime of an evening, a winter night, or the traces of an illness. The woman takes out the first piece of fabric, a faded shirt, dirt stains at the sleeve level, a yellowed stain at the hem. The wrinkled fabric is smoothed out by hand. It unfolds like a page on the stone. The bag of soap herbs is removed, a knot carefully untied from between the fabrics. Inside are lemon balm, lavender, wood ash. The scents blend together, but all are in harmony with nature's purity. She dips her hand into the water first. A chill spreads to her fingertips. This chill is a familiar greeting. Then she dips the soap bag into the water. The cloth swells. The plants inside meet the water. She taps the bag lightly on the surface of the stone. The foam forms slowly. Not suddenly and fluffily. It spreads calmly and gently. The woman takes the shirt. She moves the soap bag over the fabric. Her movements are slow but deliberate. It is as if she has memorized every line. As she rubs the armpit, a slight expression appears on her face. Perhaps fatigue, perhaps a memory that the sound of friction. Like a silent conversation between the stone and the fabric. Sometimes this sound is not even heard. But when combined with the flow of water, it creates harmony. The women next to her start at the same time. But they do not talk. This is not a vow of silence. It is a deep respect for silence. Because this moment is not just physical cleansing. It is also mental purification. Some move slowly. They pause and think as they run their hands over the fabric. Others are more rhythmic, perhaps singing. But there is no sound, only an inner rhythm. Time is not measured here. There are no minutes or hours, only the flow of the morning. And the morning is only complete with this ritual. The foam envelops the river. But it does not pollute nature. Plant-based soaps become almost invisible when mixed with water, but they leave a trace. Not a trace, perhaps a memory. The fabrics are washed. A shirt, a sock, a handkerchief, each one in turn. They are rubbed, rinsed, and wrung out. They are laid out on the stones. Some are hung on branches, others are carefully placed on a bush. A woman closes her eyes as she washes her child's diaper, a peaceful smile on her face. Perhaps that child is still asleep in the morning. But even the stain on that diaper is sacred to the mother. Because that stain is a sign that life continues. Some women kneel on the stones, while others sit a little further away. They check the contents of their baskets. They arrange the wet bags. Some murmur a short prayer. But this is directed inward, not outward. The woman dips her hand into the water and stays there for a few seconds. The water flows around her wrist. It rises to her elbow. Her arm does not tremble. This is the final stage of awakening. The day has begun. The sound of the water does not change. But with each wash, it sounds like a different song. Because the movement of the hands, the scent of the soap, and the dance of the water are always different. But there is harmony. A cycle. Some women straighten their backs. Kneeling on the stones for hours is not unusual for them. But the body feels it. Fingers are wrinkled. Palms smell of soap. Wrist lines are accentuated by the water dot. The light falling on shirts, socks, and handkerchiefs is now brighter. The sun has risen. The golden hue of morning lingers. But this hour marks the time when cleaning is nearing completion. The baskets are emptied. The fabrics are left to dry. The foam drifts away with the river. A woman looks into her basket. There is one last piece left. It too is washed, rinsed, and left in the sun. Then the woman sits on the stone. Her hand dipped in the water. Her eyes are closed. The sun caresses her face. The wind plays with the ends of her hair. There's a quiet gratitude on her face, not for herself, for the water, for the earth, for life. This ritual appears to be an ordinary task from the outside. But it is like a prayer. A wordless, silent, repetitive prayer. A worship performed with soap, water, and patience. Repeated every morning. And leaving a sense of peace at the end of every morning. Because what is cleansed is not just the fabric. The soul is purified as well, with water, with silence, and with patience itself. This ritual never ends, but it begins anew every morning. The clothes have been washed, each one separately, with soap nuts, rubbed on stones, patiently rinsed, purified with water, shaped by hand, then blessed by the clear flow of the river. Now these clothes are not just objects, but bearers of testimony. They are silent witnesses bearing the patience of the morning, the memory of the stones, the labor of the hands, and the sound of the water. Wetness is no longer a sign of dirtiness, but of a blessed rebirth. The water has not seeped into the fabric, it has merged with it, reaching a new existence together. The women reach for the heavy, yet soft fabrics. They carefully remove each piece from their baskets. They hold them by the edges, letting the fabric, stretched by the weight of the water, meet the wind. Some fabrics glisten in the fleeting light. Others flutter as if resisting gravity. As each piece takes on a new shape, it becomes an extension of nature. Drying is not just a task. It is a release, a surrender, a moment of transition. Some shirts are laid out on fern leaves. Some handkerchiefs are carefully spread on the bushes. By the shore, children's socks are hung on thin branches, each one gently, as if they were small bodies left to rest. Women's hands perform every movement with wisdom. Thorns are pushed back so they won't tear. Stones are gently lifted. Every detail is attended. To every movement echoes the past. The sun has left behind the pallor of the early morning hours. It has risen, but it is still gentle. The sky has turned a soft blue. The clouds curl like fine gauze. The light filters through the trees. This filtering is not a glow, but rather a murmur. When the light falls on the clothes, the water droplets respond with prismatic sparkles. Each drop turns into a tiny play of colors. As the wind passes through the fabric, it seems to whisper a song. The fabrics dance, stir, and turn. Not to a rhythm, but as if to a memory. One of the women stands up and catches a fluttering cloth. She places a stone on it. This stone is not just to hold the fabric in place. It is to protect the labor, the order, the memories. This small movement is done with love and care. Like a mother fixing her child's hair, the women sit on the stones. When they sit, their bodies relax, but their minds remain within that ritual. No one speaks. Because there is no need to speak at that moment. Peace is a language that comes with silence. The hands are tired. The fingers are wrinkled. The palms still carry the scent of soap. But tiredness is not a heavy burden here. It is a sign of completion, of a cycle coming to an end. The sun warms the bodies. The heat both dries the body and penetrates inward. Some women close their eyes. They lean their heads back. There is a quiet gratitude on their faces. Because this morning too has been completed. And this completion is not just about laundry. It is a kind of prayer. It is a moment of worship in which cleanliness is as much spiritual as it is physical. Children appear in the distance. Among the trees, silently. Their eyes are curious. They do not fully understand what this ritual is, but they feel it. They cannot yet put into words the depth of this silence, the meaning of the soap scent, or why sitting on the stones is so important. But they know they will understand one day. Because this is a form of transmission, silently, from generation to generation. One of the women dips her hand into the water. One last time, the coolness rises up her arm. She does not shake off the wetness, she simply feels it. Because this final touch is a farewell to the morning itself. Another woman checks the fabric lying flat on the stone once more. She places a small stone on top of it. The same care, the same attention. This is knowledge passed down from generation to generation. Baskets are lighter. There is no fabric inside them now, only lightness. A sense of accomplishment, of a task fulfilled. The soap cloths are tied again. The remaining water is poured into the river. Hands are rinsed. This last sound of water is a farewell. It is the last greeting to the river. The women rise from their seats, but not immediately. They wait first. Because this waiting is a wisdom that allows no room for haste. They know they must go, but they linger a little longer. The sky is brighter. Now, the roofs of the houses, the silhouette of the village, are distant but familiar. One of them looks at the basket one last time. There's a forgotten linen handkerchief inside. She takes it, squeezes it, spreads it out. This final movement is the last point of the morning. The others stretch their legs. They stretch their shoulders. They straighten their backs. They prepare themselves for the day. They are no longer the women of the morning, but the women of the day. The steps begin. The feet walk again on familiar paths. The baskets are light, the bodies rested. But each one carries the morning within them. What is carried is not wetness. It is silence. It is peace. It is not a burden, but a balance. There is no conversation on the way back, but there is reflection. Every moment of the morning is remembered. Again, the coldness of the stones, the touch of the water, the scent of the SOAPWORT. All are relived inside. And what is relived inside becomes the foundation for the new day. As the village approaches, the sounds grow louder. The sound of a rooster, the creak of a door, the distant laughter of a child. But these sounds are no longer disturbing. Because the women have now passed through that morning, become one with it, and are now ready to blend into the day. And what remains? Whetstones, the scent of soap, and linen shirts swaying gently on the branches. They too will dry out eventually. But the traces of this morning, they will remain forever. And now, that morning is coming to an end. Just like this story. But this is not an ending. It is merely an echo. The slow fading sound of a silence that passes from night to morning. A memory that breaks away from the bosom of morning and mingles. With noon. The riverbank is now empty. The women are gone. But they have left their traces behind, as if they were ghosts. Fingerprints drying on the stones, withered grass, a broken branch, a bent blade of grass, a dent, a bruise. These are the language of the morning. They are read not with the eyes, but with intuition. The sun has risen a little, but it is still gentle. Its heat does not burn, it only dries. The traces of moisture on the stones evaporate into the sky. But it is as if the air knows where that water came from, whose hands poured it onto the stones, with what intention, with what patience it was washed. But those stones, yes, those stones still remember everything. The washed shirts, the soap bags, the touch of hands, the kneeling bodies. They are the faithful guardians of the ritual. The roar of the river may not have ceased, but it has grown distant. As if the river too wanted to rest, it has withdrawn to the shore. It no longer tells a story, it only waits. It waits for a new morning to come, for new steps to be taken on the shore. There is still a shirt sleeve swaying gently at the end of a branch. At first glance it looks like an ordinary piece of fabric, but that sleeve had just passed through the mother's hands. It carried patience and effort. And now, the wind is bidding it farewell. The wind's touch is not harsh. It is like the final touch of one hand on another. The edge of the fabric lifts slightly, then falls again, like a sob, like a sigh, not of the day, but of the morning's last breath. A few traces remain on the ground, a footprint still fresh, still soft, as if someone else were about to walk there next. Not just a trace, but an invitation. And right beside it, a small soap bag. As if forgotten ... but perhaps left there on purpose. No one has ever forgotten such a bag before. Perhaps someone said to themselves, let something stay here. Let a part of me live here, so that the heart of the ritual might beat a little there. And now, perhaps you are returning home with slow steps, with a shadow on your shoulder, with the scent of soap in your palm, with wet earth on the tip of your shoe. Perhaps you are ready to start the day, but a part of your soul is still there, on the stones glistening in the sun. Perhaps your eyes are closing now, in the corner of a room, quietly, somewhere between sleep and wakefulness. Perhaps the sleeve of a shirt comes to mind, gently swaying, conversing with the wind. Perhaps this story will echo in the back alleys of your mind while you sleep, like the sound of a river, no longer flowing in water, but in memory. It doesn't feel like it happened this morning. It feels like it has always been there, like a repetition beyond time and space. It is reborn every morning, forgotten again, but the stones remember, the water remembers, and most of all, the silence remembers. Because words are temporary, but silence is eternal. Those mornings watched through a child's eyes, washed by a mother's hands, whispered by a grandmother's voice, they never truly left. They were merely drawn into dreams. And you are. Now right in the middle of that dream, the day may be beginning. But for you, perhaps everything is slowing down now. Sleep is calling you. But this time, sleep is not just for rest, it is for remembering. For an inner journey, you are walking toward a wordless, imageless depth, where the light fades, the sound of water slowly fades away, the scent of soap still lingers on your fingers, the rustle of a shirt sleeve, the coolness of a stone, the sanctity of a morning. And only one thing remains, a breath. And the only thing rising from that breath, silence.